What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Three Man Weave, your monthly basketball discussion. And we had such a good show last month that we're running it back. Got Nican Robinson and Omar Spahi back with me again. Yeah, we're raising the roof. We're throwing it back in all kinds of ways. But very excited to have you guys back. We had such a good time last month. We had to do it again.
Hell yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so let's cheers. And we, like we do every month in the NBA, so much to talk about. Cheers. So much to talk about that we, I don't know, we were literally going through the list before this and more than we can account for in this show, but let's try to get as much in as we can. Let's start with, we talked last month about the Jimmy Butler saga. He was still on Minnesota then. We were saying he'd probably have to get traded at some point. It was a dark horse team in Philadelphia who ended up getting him.
Which is sweet.
What are your thoughts on the trade for Butler, for Minnesota, for Philly, just the whole thing going down?
Here's what I think. I'm going to jump in first.
Got feelings about it, man.
I think that Philly won in the short term, and if they're able to capitalize on it, I think they're still not the number one team in the East, but they have potential to be there, and they have a potential to be there over the next few years. But I think Minnesota is going to be a force if they're able to keep their core together now for a while and be that team that comes up and is able to overtake them in the long run.
I think not the opposite, but I'm going to go a different path.
Okay.
In the sense that I think that Philly won. I think Philly won long term.
Oh, really?
And what I think is that Jimmy Butler's going to stay with Philly because the whole thing that he wanted in Minnesota were guys that would compete.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler is the type of superstar talent to where even though his light shines on the court, he can score, he can defend, he does the intangible things. What he really wants to buy into is that everyone's buying into winning. Period. And I don't think that Andrew Wiggins, man, he's fallen off. Towns doesn't, he's great, he's fantastic, but I'm sure behind the scenes, in terms of work ethic, Jimmy Butler was not happy there. So I think long term, Philadelphia's going to be great. They got pieces. It's all an if with Minnesota.
It is, but I think it's that youth. It takes time for these young players to develop. I really believe that they have a lot of talent in that core group, and I think that's what's going to kind of shine through. I think you look at their roster right now with Embiid, Simmons, Butler, like that team can be serious right now, and like especially with Butler being like let's win and let's win now. With that mentality, you're ready to go and like that's a playoff mentality year round. That's what kind of drives that thing. When you talk about work ethic, like you see it by example, by seeing, okay, we have to win, we have to go in there, and I think that goes a long way. So
yeah, it's an aggressive move from Philly, but I think one that's worth it for them, just for the fact that we know that the East is very top heavy. Boston, who right now is struggling, they're not even in it right now.
Yeah.
Boston is expected to be there. Toronto.
Yeah.
Philly's in that group, and you can throw Milwaukee, really, the top, kind of a four-team race, if you count the Milwaukee in that. But they're there, they're going for it, they're bringing in Butler. We'll see if it's enough, but he's already got 2 game-winning shots in a week.
And the third one, he had 34 points the other night against the Nets. Whoa, man.
Yeah.
He's excited to be there.
Yeah.
He's excited to be there. Point blank.
He was in a situation he didn't want to be in. So, but him getting out of it is a win-win for everybody. Because if Minnesota was like, "Hey, listen, this guy obviously doesn't want to be here. We're not buying into him. He's not buying into us." Like it's a win-win for both teams.
I think it is. You've seen, as you said, Wiggins is still struggling, but Towns has exploded since the trade. He's putting up monster numbers, and it's probably something for him. Even though they're both not that far off in age, Towns in his young 20s, Butler in his late 20s, but probably a difference in just the way they approach things. And Towns probably thinks he's working hard, but is more laid back. And Butler might have seen that as not enough effort, but clearly it's working for Towns. He probably feels freer and just more capable to do what he wants on the court.
And I think more so the dig with the whole, Jimmy Butler, Andrew Wiggins, his brother, Steven Jackson came in. Like I think that was still more of a dig at Andrew Wiggins and trying to light a fire, under him, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And still, if you don't have the buy-in of the whole team, I feel like coming from Jimmy Butler's point of view, if you don't have the buy-in, from the whole team, like what am I doing here? And then who knows what was going on behind the scenes with management? Maybe telling him to calm down. But no, like.
And that's another interesting subplot too with management. It was Tom Thibodeau who was Butler's guy in Chicago, but clearly not enough for him to want to stay there. And I think that might be the next step for Minnesota. Getting Thibs at least out of the management role, as we've seen with with the Clippers, who we'll talk about later, getting Doc Rivers out of that role and just allowing him to coach has made all the difference for them.
But it's made a huge difference, I feel like, in the Derrick Rose saga. Like, Derrick Rose is still...
Derrick Rose is doing his thing.
Derrick Rose is balling out.
He's doing his thing.
He's back. You know, like, he's not... Like, you were worried that he was gone and he's never coming back, but, like, he's kind of like, I'm going to force a will this, and, you know, after that 50-point game, he kind of like, okay, I'm going to stay there, be consistent, and he's done that.
Yeah, averaging 19 points and, like, 6 assists a game, so...
It's crazy.
And then a long time.
Yeah, you gotta be happy for Rose.
Yeah.
They said that's a long journey that a lot of guys would just
give up on
for sure.
Yeah, and so it's really a mind-blowing experience to be like, whoa, like, Derrick Rose is back, and he's a force.
Yeah. So for Minnesota, obviously, they get Covington and Sarge in the deal. Is that enough for Butler, or do you think Minnesota was just happy to get quality players and to end that saga and just kind of move on?
I think it's most important is getting the guy out of there who doesn't want to be there, because that can be a problem in your locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have that one guy who's like, man, like, I'm not about the whole team, and like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. It spreads. It's contagious. Right. And once you get that person out, then it's like, okay, we can breathe again. We can be us. And we don't have that negative energy around us. Because I'm a firm believer in, like, one bad apple can ruin the whole bunch. One person could be like, you didn't give enough tonight. I wanted to win this game. And it's like, I was giving the best I could. And so it's interesting.
I think there totally is quality in that trade. I mean, you got Sarge, who's kind of an all-around guy and does the intangibles, but can shoot the lights out. You got Covington, he's a streaky shooter, but a shooter nonetheless. And looking at Minnesota,
DN3 type guy, yeah.
DN3 type guy, and that's kind of what you need. He's long. He defends really well, and Minnesota was lacking outside shooting. But now we'll just see how that kind of gels. And you know, if Towns becomes a black hole, perfect. He can make it. He can do what he wants around the rim. But you know, they did need that outside shooting. So I think it was a good trade. Leadership wise, you're not going to get the same value that you got out of Jimmy Butler.
But if leadership wasn't working, so I think you get more. You know what I mean?
I don't know, man.
You can only if your leader, if the followers aren't buying into the leader's not effective, and that's what you have to know.
True, and we will see what that does to their standing.
Yeah, absolutely. Time will tell.
I was going to say, what do you think? It's a crowded, heavily competitive West. Is Minnesota a playoff team this year?
Minnesota's out.
I think they can still be in it. I think that they'll come in kind of slip in there in a little bit higher than you think.
I think they'll be competitive, but I'm going to say they're out too.
I'm going to say they're out. You lost Jimmy.
The West is wide open. Like, the West is one of those things that's it's literally a coin flip. If they win the right game on the right night, it might just be enough to get them in. And
Memphis will win more than they do to get in.
Ooh.
I mean, there's also other teams that we haven't thought of. Memphis is one of them, but Sacramento is playing well. I mean, there's teams that normally you write off that at least are
Sacramento
in that
will
mix.
get in before Minnesota.
Wow.
I'm making a bold claim now.
I think Houston, if they can't figure their stuff out, might have to blow their thing up, and might, you never know.
I mean, that would be a quick fall from being minutes away from beating the Warriors to letting it fall apart. But I mean, let's go there then. Houston, because so much has happened in the last month since then. Carmelo wasn't necessarily playing well, but he wasn't playing horribly. And after 11 games, he's gone. Just kicked off the team pretty much, despite the team saying he did nothing wrong and he was a great teammate. That whole situation is bizarre. But first of all, for the Rockets, what does that mean? That whole scenario with him gone.
I mean, the fact that you do boot a guy after 10 games or something like that, this is crisis mode for them. And then let's say they win a couple of games, but the majority of games that they played over the last like four or five games, they have not won and have not been as competitive as what they were last year. Nowhere near it. So this is crisis mode for them. And they're going to have to take a look at their whole organization from the top down, from D'Antoni down, and say, well, what's going on? James Harden ain't going nowhere. Chris Paul ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, Paul just got the big re-sign deal as a Capella, and Harden's locked in. So
those they're not going anywhere, but they definitely have to take a look at what's going on, because you can't fall this far from grace.
Absolutely.
You can't.
You're almost at the amount of games you lost. You lost last year in the first freaking couple weeks of the season.
A third of the season.
Yeah.
And you boot Carmelo Anthony out of 10. He didn't deserve that. That definitely was not the problem. So something.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Carmelo wasn't efficient. That wasn't really anything new. But he did have a couple games when Harden was out where he put up 26 points in one, 22 in another. So it's not like he was doing nothing. His defense is still not going to be great, but he's not the reason why Ariza's not there, why Bob Mute's not there. That's really more of the reason why they're struggling. They can't defend anyone right now.
But it's interesting because, you look at Carmelo as a historical player, and he's always gone to places and not won. Like, he's never been that places. He's never gone to a place like he was in Denver.
USA.
But that he wasn't. Again, you have enough on that team.
But I will say, like, when he has won, which, as you said, hasn't been consistent, the years in Denver, it's always been when he's had kind of another leader to help him lead the show. With Denver, it was Chauncey Billups. In New York, it was Jason Kidd and Tyson Chandler when they came in for that 1 year where they were the 2 seed. This year, there's Chris Paul there, so theoretically, it should be that same type of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, he gets a lot of the blame because he's that superstar caliber player, and he brings it on himself.
Yeah, before we kind of get into further with the Rockets, where does Carmelo go from here? Who signs him? Because that's just an odd thing, because a young team is not going to take a chance on him because they want to develop their young guys. And veteran teams...
The Warriors already said they didn't want to sign him.
Yeah, I mean, the only other realistic one seems like the Lakers, and I don't think they want to sign him either. Maybe Miami, but it seems like with this whole scenario, we got like the short end of the straw with everything.
You know where I would like to see him go? Number one, I would like to see him stay in the West. And one of two places I'd like to see him go, number one, is Memphis, or I would like to see him go to the Pelicans.
I think both those would be a good fit, but I think with the success they're having right now, I think my hot take is he ends up nowhere. I think that this might be his off year right now, and as sad as it is,
nobody picks it up.
I think
you're right.
It's the Tim Tebow type situation. It's the media circus that comes in with it, and does the benefits outweigh the risks? Mm-hmm. Is he that like name talent that will bring you into playoff contention and make a difference? Like, is he the missing piece for the Lakers, for the Heat, I don't think he's that missing piece. We just don't know.
Chicago.
I mean, I do think I actually like the New Orleans suggestion for a couple reasons. One, you have a great perimeter defender, one of the best in the league in Drew Holiday,
right, and
then one of the best interior defenders in Anthony Davis. So you can kind of hide his defensive weaknesses by having him on the floor with those guys. Right. And they've been starting Wesley Johnson, who they picked up the day before the season started. So there's a need at that small forward spot, at least even if it's a backup role, where he can kind of just provide a punch.
And if he decides to buy into the system, he doesn't. They don't necessarily need him for immediate, quick score. Maybe they do need him for quick buckets. Yeah. But it's not something where we're building an offense around you. You got Drew Holiday and you got Anthony Davis taking a majority of the shots and taking on the load. But just to have someone else that's like a quick Julius Randle. Not a huge fan of Julius Randle.
But he's
a
fantastic
guy, but he's playing great.
He's playing great.
Right? So just for little quick hits, you can bring Carmelo in for that. So I think
it's tough though. As somebody who's seen the league over so many years, it's tough to watch a superstar player get to a bench role. It's really a lot of people have a mental problem with figuring out how to make that adjustment, and it's crazy because it's part of the growth. The person who did it the most effectively to me was going way back, Bill Walton, because he was a superstar player back in Portland, and then he came off the bench for the Celtics and was able to transition. So it's a very difficult thing, but it's doable.
Yeah, I mean, certain players have had trouble adjusting and just haven't been able to accept that role. I know on ESPN, Tracy McGrady has said he didn't want that, so that's kind of why he retired. Allen Iverson obviously went out in a blaze of glory with the Memphis thing where he refused to go to the bench, and that was basically it. Yeah. Certain guys just don't want that part of their career, and that's not necessarily not on them, but that's the way they've been playing. And if not, then
I don't want to see him go. He can't go yet.
It would seem
feelings.
It would seem like an injustice.
Sometimes you gotta let go, man. Sometimes it's time.
Even with how poorly he's played at times over the past few years, it would seem like an injustice for it to end that way, 10 games into a year, for no real reason.
Yeah.
It just feels kind of wrong.
There's one person who's undefeated, and that's Father Time.
Yeah.
And I think Carmelo might be running into him sooner than we think. You have to imagine that 2003 when he came into the league was 15 years ago. Not very many players are around from that.
Yeah, not everyone is LeBron.
Not everyone is LeBron.
He just keep trucking along.
You think of the people who have the longevity to play 20 seasons. It's few and far between. The average lifespan in the NBA is significantly small. Yeah. And with all this new talent coming in, it's going to continue to get smaller.
Yeah. A quick shout out to a couple of those older guys. Vince Carter, who just
Oh, man, Vince
25,000
Carter.
points.
25.
He's tied for the all-time record in seasons played with 21 right now.
Wow. And
then
he still looks like he has tank.
Yeah, and
That's
then-
the thing. He's ready to go.
And then Jamal Crawford, who just hit a game winner for the Suns
He'll
at
never
38
stop.
years old.
He'll
Yeah, he's
never
just still
stop.
going. well,
He is the most underrated player still. I feel like.
Period.
Yeah.
To your point, I mean, he balls these guys up in the summer leagues in Seattle.
Yeah.
He does the same thing to you in real games.
Yeah,
so
he
it
just doesn't matter.
He'll never stop.
He is so
He
much
said
raw
that. He said
talent.
that when he's 50-something, you'll
Yeah.
see him in an LA Fitness somewhere.
Oh.
If I played him in an LA Fitness, it would go over really badly.
Yeah.
I mean,
You don't want to get switched on to
Yeah,
Jamal
yeah,
Crawford at
no,
the LA Fitness.
no.
Wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Let me get ready.
nope.
All right, well, let's move on. Last month we talked about, we went to Rookie Watch. You have the rookie chain. We don't have that here, but we do
Not
want to
today.
kind of want to check in again on some of these rookies. Who has stood out to you as someone that's caught your eye as the season has continued to progress?
Though I still cannot pronounce his first name in his last name, Shai
Gilgeous-Alexander.
Gilgeous-Alexander. So I have got a chance to actually watch him. Wow. That's all I can say. Number one,
Yeah.
he's long. He defends. I'm always about the intangibles.
Mhm.
You know, always about going to work and doing the intangible things. He does that. He plays around the mid-range so much. He stops on a dime. He's crafty. He can pass. He's got court vision. Wow, he's only a rookie.
He looks like he's played for 10 years in the league.
He slows the game down and sees everything. And I'm like, wait a minute, you just came out of Kentucky.
Yeah. As a freshman.
Yeah.
As a
Crazy.
freshman. So
Crazy.
he's something about these Canadians, man.
Yeah, no, he looks great.
Oh.
And the fact that, injuries played a little bit of a role, but the fact that he's already starting for
Yeah.
Doc Rivers, who generally doesn't like to play young players that much, but he's the starting point guard that's set in probably for the next 10 years if he wants to be. He's
Just
already
saying.
got the job.
Just
so.
saying. I'm looking forward to him, taking on more of a load too. Whenever that does happen, 3 years down the line, 2 years down the line, what have you. I can't wait to see what he does with that. I mean, he's talented. He's really talented.
Yeah, and that's another Jerry West front office thing. Apparently that was the guy they had targeted, and yeah, he's already working wonders. I mean, we can get back to the rookies, but we might as well. We had it on our list. It's very early, and it's a half game difference, but the Clippers are number 1 in the West.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That obviously probably won't hold up with the fact that they're playing so well.
It might.
It's not a mirage that they're a good team, because they are.
They are.
What have you seen from them?
It's less about Blake. It's less about DeAndre and Blake. It's less about Lob City. It's more team oriented.
Yeah.
Shai is so good.
Yeah.
Everybody chips in. You bring Lou Will off the bench. He's doing his thing. He's one guy who deserves to be a starter, but he's created this whole platform for sixth men, for guys who come off the bench and dominate. So everybody's buying in, and it looks beautiful.
Well, Lou obviously is always going to be in that 6-man of the year
Right.
conversation, and they have another guy who might be neck and neck with him right now, Montrezl Harrell, who I could do 10 shows in a row about Montrezl Harrell, because
his motor
so
is
fun to watch.
Golly, I mean, he's on the boards, he's defending, he's everywhere.
Well, first
And
of
then
all,
he's in
he's-
your face after he does it.
he's an undersized forward, but he's playing center. He's
Wow.
averaging 16, 8, and 3 blocks in 24 minutes a game, and he's averaging about 20 and 10 over this month. He's doing it off the bench. As I said, he's just relentless. He just never stops, and
Everywhere.
yeah, he
He's
is.
everywhere. He reminds me of the Manimal.
Yeah,
Yeah,
During
just-
his
yeah,
heyday,
just
yeah.
straight
During
hustle.
his heyday,
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to see how long it lasts, but I mean, right now, wow.
What's really interesting to me is it feels like the Clippers don't have a superstar, and it's been a very long time since we've seen a top-tier team without that guy, whether it's Steph, KD, Lillard, Harden, like Chris Paul. There's somebody who's like the focal point of the offense. And I feel like the Clippers are like, no, we're that San Antonio team-based thing. But even San Antonio had,
Duncan,
Ginobili, Kawhi, you name it. They still had their guy. But it feels like with the Clippers, they're actually playing that, like, that movie magic ball where it's like they find the open person, they play good ball all around.
Yeah, there's a couple teams that reminds me of, and he said it's far and few between. Denver is one, but looking back in the past years ago when the Hawks won 60 games, when they had the Korver, Damari Carroll, Joe Johnson, that whole thing, Al Horford, of course.
But even
and
then, I would say Joe Johnson and Horford were still
Yeah.
like more name value.
And then the Pistons with the championship year.
Yeah.
They of
That's a good
course were a defensive juggernaut, but even going with that, the Clippers. Don't discount how good Tobias Harris is,
Yes.
and Danilo Gallinari. Who, when he's healthy, you see how
amazing.
good he is too. So those are two guys that are at the 3 and 4, averaging over 20 points a game.
They'll continue to make noise this year. I mean, I take them over Minnesota getting into the playoffs. For sure.
That one's not a question for me.
Hands down.
Do you think they're in? Like let's.
I think they're in.
I think they're in.
Ooh,
I think I would put them more in the
6,
5
7.
to 8 range, but I do think that they'll be in.
I think that this early in the season, I think they find a way to slip out. So I'm gonna be.
As you said, everything's bunched together,
Yeah.
so it's not an outrageous thing to think they won't make
It's
it.
so close because right now you're talking about a difference from first place all the way down to like 14th place. It was like right now less than 5 games. So
I know it's December as we get into this, but who are your 8 then in the West? Because that's a tough thing to do, but not necessarily in order. But who are the 8 that get in?
Warriors, Clippers, Denver, Utah, Lakers. Ooh, Pelicans, Portland, and I'm gonna go with the Kings.
ooh,
So no Houston for you.
wow.
Omar, what about you?
Yeah, I mean I'm gonna start at the top with Warriors. Of course, we're gonna win it all because that's what they do.
Yeah. We know they're struggling right now, but
it's gonna be
Curry isn't playing, and when he is,
Yeah.
we know what happens. So
I think you go into Portland after that. I think the Rockets definitely make it in. I don't know if it's gonna be like a 3 seed, but they'll be in there. Lakers, Grizzlies. I think the Timberwolves are in. I think that was 6.
yeah.
And then I think the last 2. I think I'm gonna agree with you on the Kings. I think the Kings are in there.
I'm telling you.
They are fun to watch this year.
They are fun to watch. And then as the final team, I think it's gonna be Denver. So what about you, Jesse? What are you thinking?
All right. Well, Warriors as well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the Rockets get in.
Mm-hmm.
With the Clippers, as I said, I like Denver. I like Utah. That's 5. Lakers is 6. It gets tough from here. Portland and
Have to make it. Got to. I don't even think OKC makes it.
OKC. That's the
Oh,
one. That's
that's
what you
what
just
he-
reminded. I was like,
yeah.
I'm forgetting someone, and I would say OKC.
Yeah, OKC's playing great, man. Like,
But even with that, look at all the teams that were leaving out. It's just like how deep the West is. All right, so we were talking about rookies. Who else do you like that you've seen?
Luka Doncic. That's just.
Yeah, I mean, Luke. Is he the rookie of the year to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Between him and Shai. But I'm gonna give it to Luka. Luka's on another level.
I will say Ayton is still putting up good numbers on that Phoenix team. He's got pretty much averaging 16 and 10, so can't knock that as well. But
the results are also in the winning. You have to kind of feel like this person's kind of going somewhere, and Phoenix is kind of the one outlier in all of the West.
In the West.
That's not doing well.
Yeah.
And you're, as a leader, if you come in there, you should be somebody who's going to bring that team into contention. Like if you look at the great ones who have like kind of come in and been like, okay, we're going to make this a thing. They come in there and do it. And so I don't know. I think it's not a good look to start off and still not be doing well.
No, I mean, you're right about that. I would also throw in Jaren Jackson Jr. for a team that is playing well in Memphis.
Absolutely.
He's going to be a great defender, and his offensive game, if it develops, he'll be really good.
He'll be my next project to look at.
And we got to throw out the little Knicks shout out, and it's not Knox because he's kind of struggled off that ankle injury, but undrafted Alonzo Trier has been incredible for the Knicks.
So I didn't think that he was actually going to come into the league and make noise.
Yeah,
him, staying as long as he did in college. You let your game season and mature. But I was like, he can shoot. He's mature, sure. But I didn't think he would actually make any noise. I'm pleasantly surprised by him.
I am as well, and I think that some of the thing you see with some rookies, and it's not an unwarranted thing, but either fear or tepidness, he has none of that. He is going aggressive. He wants to go at people, and he's just nonstop.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's absolutely great.
I feel like that was Jeremy Lin. Like going back old school, Jeremy Lin had no fear. He had nothing left to lose. He was on a 10-day contract, and I think that's what kind of helped him propel him to that next level and helped him become a name brand player. And I think that that no fear mentality is the same.
Yeah. So shout out to Alonzo Trier. It's our next shout out of the month. Before we start to wrap it up, talk about your Warriors. There has been some drama.
Uh-oh.
We know that.
Hold him back.
Yeah,
Hold him back.
We do still expect them to win as Curry's been out.
Absolutely.
But there was a flare-up, a blow-up with Draymond and Durant after a tough loss to the Clippers. Going into overtime, Durant wanted the ball for the last shot. Draymond was trying to push it and lost it, and that forced the game to overtime.
Right.
They had an altercation. Draymond got suspended. So what were your thoughts on just that whole...
It happens.
Yeah.
You know, it things like that happen. Draymond is not going to change who he is.
Yeah.
Period. You know, so if someone does come at him with, he's going to do what he thinks is best for the team.
Yeah.
Whether that is right or wrong, you know where his intentions lie. He's going to do his best for the team.
Yeah.
The way that they started bickering in the huddle, it happens. You don't want to see it happen. You know, you get the close up of both of them right here. The two shot that doesn't help.
Yeah.
With, you know, with your interpretation.
All the cameras we got.
All the cameras are there. You know. What I do think though, and this has nothing to do with their interaction on the court, I don't think Kevin Durant will be with the Warriors next year.
I mean, that seemed to be oddly part of the argument, or the report that Draymond said, like, your free agency.
Right.
We know you're not coming back, something like that.
So yeah, and you know, Draymond is going to do and say what's best for the team, and if it's to air out, you know, if you're not going to be back, you're not going to be back. We're still going to win the championship this year.
Yeah.
But just, you know, be real. But I think aside from that, I don't think that this interaction had anything to do with me saying that Kevin Durant is leaving, but I think Kevin Durant is leaving.
Yeah.
And I hope he goes to the Knicks. I'm sorry.
I mean, I hope so too. But it's also just like feels so weird from Draymond's perspective. Granted, you want to keep your guys together and you have something going to winning championships. But as someone who basically begged Durant to come when he called him from the parking lot when they lost, you can't really be upset at someone's decision when he left someone to come to you. It just felt weird to me.
He may not even be talking to him. That may have been something like, you know,
heat of the moment.
Your brother punches you and, you know, you say some bad things to him.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, it may not be
the
that.
family. And
you know,
I personally love the drama because to me it shows both players want to win. You know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when they get hyped up, there's passion there, there's fiery, and sometimes they don't express it in the best way, but they both come from that place of wanting to win. I don't think it was a off the court issue. I think it was an on the court issue about them both wanting to win and them trying to find their team chemistry. I think it's one of those things that's going to work out, and I think Durant's going to be there for a while. I think when they talked to Durant about the pitch, he said, you know, they said this is a place where you can come and do something special, and I don't think 3 championships is enough. I think he's looking for 6. I think he's looking for 7. I think he's looking for Jordan numbers. Oh. And there's also the other side of the coin where he's like, I want to go do it on my own. But you have a chance now to really make a team legacy in the Warriors, and I think he's going to stay for that. It's hard to leave when you're on top. I'll tell you that.
It'll be an interesting ride no matter what, because we'll have Boogie Cousins coming there at some point.
That's going to be
one other thing. So, as we said, there's so much to talk about that we can't get to because we're out of time. But before we sign off, Nican, obviously your fantastic movie Thunder Road is out in theaters. It's available on iTunes. But
that's I mean, pretty much continuing to push that. Just Thunder Road is still out, iTunes, Amazon Prime, Google Play. We're just kind of riding the wave.
Yeah, I downloaded it. I'm with it. I'm a fan.
Yes. Sir. And Omar, speaking of iTunes, #1 podcast on iTunes with a Dreamer Comics podcast. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Get that out there for the people as well.
So Dreamer Comics podcast is a show where I talk about how comic books are made, how different characters come to be, and the story behind the stories of the most iconic characters you see on the big screen and the small screen. So it's a pleasure to do the show, and I have some really amazing guests come on and do some cool interviews.
Yeah, so be sure to check out Dreamer Comics podcast, check out Thunder Road, and hit us up with any questions. We said we have like 8 hours of material that we didn't talk about tonight. So on Twitter, follow us all. You see the handles right here on the screen. So be sure to check us out. We're going to toast it one more time. So for Nican Robinson and Omar Spahi, Jesse Kass signing off. We'll talk to you next month.